Hey, welcome back to another session of the Growth and Scaling Sessions. I'm your host, Todd Westra, and I am so excited to have you all here today. This is a fascinating topic today because I've got three awesome participants today in our panel to discuss the foundations of a tech stack. Now, why is this important to you? It's important to everybody. I mean, if you are a business operating in the technological space or really any space today, and you don't have the right tech stack, you're going to run into problems. And so today we have got an amazing panel of guests. We're going to jump in first, though, by setting the stage here. Every business has leads. Every business is trying to convert leads to a sale. Every company should have customers, right? And customers, leads, managing your employees, all these things are part of your tech stack. And a tech stack should include things like CRMs, things like customer service tools and payroll tools, and all these things overwhelm most founders when trying to build and grow their business. Well, these experts today are going to jump in and let us know some of the things that they've been able to learn from a technical perspective, and as technical application specialists, what we need to do to build and grow our tech stack. And we're going to start by introducing our first guest. We have Guillermo Bonilla. Guillermo, will you please introduce yourself and give us a brief intro, who you are and what you do?
Hello, Todd. Very happy and excited to be here. Well, I'm Guillermo, and I've been working in IT for 25 years. I have had different roles like software development manager, CTO, infrastructure manager. So I've been exposed to different areas. And recently, I've been working more on business development, working with customers, trying to help them build their projects and be successful. So I'm very happy to be here and be willing to share everything I can.
We're excited to have you. So excited to have you. And thank you for being here. Our next guest, we have an amazing, he's got the best looking background of all of us and screen setup and everything. Junaid, will you tell us who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. So my name is Janae, and I've been in the tech space around 25 years as well, creating entre- experiences for enterprise applications. And I'm a huge techie, and with that tech also comes with passion for photography, videography, and I've been in the film industry for the past 15 years. And in the past 3 years, I've been able to bring all of that technology and knowledge that I have in the film industry into my own studio, creating content for not only my podcast, but also my courses, my YouTube channel, and have been teaching people on what they should be focusing on to make sure that their content is top notch and it's evergreen, so that when they're
Right.
moving on to the next step, it's always top notch.
So 3 years ago, that means this must be a COVID pivot.
It's absolutely a COVID pivot. I mean, it's something that I've been wanting to do because I've been creating content for
Right,
many
right, right.
years outside of my own home. But when I wanted to create a course for myself, I was like, hey, all I saw was yellow walls. I'm like, how can I turn this around? And I'm like, wait, I have this knowledge of setting
I love it.
stages. So it was a really amazing culmination of all the tech that I knew into one business.
That's a very cool, very smart play, by the way. I've met a couple people that are doing this, and I gotta say, I think it's so needed. Very cool tech play. Our last guest today, Josh Hardman. Josh is coming back to us. He's been on with us before. Josh, give us an idea who you are and what you do.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me back on, Todd, and it's great to be here with you guys. I've been in the software development space for about 8 years as an engineer, and about 3 years ago started a software development company on the side, just helping out with some of my previous employers, and just brought on more clients, and was able to work with my network that I built up over the years. And currently pursuing this full time. We've been doing it for about a year, and we've been building out some CRM products for variety of companies, and actually with different technologies, just tailor fit to each use case. So it'll be really fun to kind of discuss that here with you guys today.
Well, I love it. And for those of you wondering, what in the world is that green machine
The
behind
green
Josh?
machine.
Yes. Yes, there is a green. You learn a lot from people on those video calls about what's in their office. And Josh, tell us what in the world you got a dirt bike in your room for.
Well, yeah, it's funny. I love dirt bikes. I actually got my son. I bought this bike for him, and turns out it's a race bike. It's too fast for him. So until I sell it, it's just kind of turned into an office decoration.
Awesome. Well, it could be worse. Could be worse. Well, you guys, I appreciate all of you being here so much. Let's get into the topic. Foundations of a tech stack. Josh, you're in the big screen right now. Will you give us an idea? What are some things that every business should be thinking about when trying to decide which software should they be using? And let's start with the foundation. I mean, lead. How do you control leads? And what do you think? I guess maybe a step back. What tech should people be thinking about first in growing their business, stabilizing their business?
There's always kind of a balance between buy versus build. And I think in today's world, there's more and more opportunity to have a hybrid in between both of those. So for certain cases, you can buy software right off the shelf, and it's a great fit for your business, and you can scale on that because you kind of fit the mold. There are a lot of companies that don't necessarily fit the mold, and those products will get you 80% of the way there. And then the other 20% is just a nightmare to manage. And so you have to find workarounds. So yeah, it really varies case to case, which is why we offer full custom software. We also do a lot of no code or low code builds where we can streamline specific operations. I think tools like Make those are amazing. Just tools that connect APIs and let everything talk together, because it gives you flexibility and kind of sets the stage so that you can create something that's going to grow with your business instead of having to force your business into the model provided by a specific software.
All right. So Guillermo, what are your thoughts on that? What do you think is an essential foundational piece every business has got to have when they're trying to get going?
Well, I think for growth, what you mentioned before about lead generation is critical. So there are a lot of tools that let you automate the workflow. So for example, in our business, what we are mainly focused is LinkedIn. So having a very good profile is important to have this kind of activities to get visibility and get to know people, and people get to know what you do. It's very important. And there are a lot of, how can I say, supplemental tools that can help you reach out the people that you want to talk to. So the segmentation is critical. I personally use, forgot the word, Sales Navigator from LinkedIn. So you can segment by city, by roles, by departments, and you can get some valuable insights. So you start building all the targets or objective accounts that you want to start processing. It is very important to have a solid follow-up process. And what I do personally, I download the files from LinkedIn into an Excel spreadsheet that automates the process so I can follow up on all the messages that I got back from my leads and then upload
Smart.
I'm sorry?
Smart.
Yes, and then I can upload them to my CRM, and there are different tools. We use HubSpot that lets you automate not only the contact, but also provide some help on nurturing campaigns to be in touch with the person, and you can generate tasks to follow up on the person. So having a solid lead generation process with a structured follow-up is successful for growth.
Agreed. And as Josh mentioned, there's a lot of out-of-the-box solutions, and then there's kind of that next stage where it's like, but it doesn't do this, it doesn't do that, it doesn't do that. Josh, and Junaid, maybe you can chime in on this. At what point do you feel like is the right time to move from an out-of-the-box to more of a custom solution?
And that's an excellent question. And I've been using something around the lead capture ConvertKit for email
Right.
automation and whatnot. And it makes it really easy because you've got these automation set up. You can make sure the communication that you're having with the people, but there are limitations because sure, the software has, so much solution and they're designed as an email marketing software, but
Right.
then now that you're moving the customers from a lead to an actual customer, you want to make sure that you're keeping that conversation going and also tracking that project, because Josh and Guillermo, when we're creating these projects, when we're working on these projects, you want to make sure that you're taking them around along this customer journey and making sure that the customer knows that, hey, we are being taken care of. So definitely there are other solutions that are customizable that
Right.
makes that possible. And I've been diving in deep into Go High Level, which gives you that overall aspect of, okay, here's my different workflows, here's my different automations. And HubSpot
Right.
has a lot of those features built in as well. So
Right.
look at what's going to work for you. Where are you in the pipeline, or where's the bottleneck? Again, talking with
100%.
folks like Josh and Guillermo, will totally give you an idea. Okay, we're having this bottleneck, and um, experience, trumps everything else. There might be a solution out there, but then talking with people and figuring out, hey, how can we get better at this is always the way to go.
So I thank you for that. I love that feedback. Josh, as you're kind of in the role here of, okay, let's pull you off something out of the box into something custom. What are some of the big like red flags a business owner or a founder should be seeing that's like, hey, I've got to bounce into this next thing?
Yeah, that's a great question. When a business, so I'm a huge proponent of using something that's off the shelf and getting you velocity, because a huge factor in success in business is how quickly you can get to market and how quickly you can get traction. You can have the
Right.
coolest tools in the world, but if you have no traction, it doesn't do you any good. And unfortunately, I've had to
Agreed.
experience that firsthand several times to learn that lesson. But
It's a hard lesson. Hard
it
lesson
is,
to learn.
especially when you love building things. But when you start running into limitations and you're no longer able to scale and your software is the hindering factor and it's affecting the
Yeah.
performance of your employees, that's when it really becomes a bottleneck. And we kind of target companies that are in that stage where they're trying to break through to the next level and the software is limiting them. So that's where we can go in and provide really sharp solutions for their biggest pain points and kind of work around their existing software and slowly grow into something that's going to be more scalable.
That's definitely got to be one of the hardest decisions to make as a founder. Holy crap, this is kind of working, but it's not all the way working. What can you do to help me get this all the way working? Guillermo, any thoughts from your perspective on that and your dev experience?
Yes, when you are about to go to the next level of technology and automation, you have to be careful because it's not only the productivity and quality, it's also related to cost, right? So you have
Right.
to do a very thorough analysis to understand, how's the trend of your business, if it's worth it or not to go to the next level, and what are the costs associated. Many times, you can build like a holding app or a holding system that you can integrate with different providers through APIs, and you can somehow automate the process, and that may not be that costly. So, for example, if in your workflow you are wanting to integrate your CRM with your ERP or any other things, there are ways that you can build customizations or even your own platform that it's like the core of your operation that integrates with different vendors and simplify the process. For example, if you want to do payments, you can connect with a vendor provider like Stripe. If you want to manage documentation,
Right.
you can integrate with DocuSign. So it's not that difficult to integrate those third-party vendors, but you can have a more systematic approach and streamlined operation. In summary, what I think is that there could be a middle step where you have off-the-shelf products that work independently and require a lot of manual work, but you can build like your own application integrating with different systems that somehow simplifies the overall process.
I love it. I love this conversation. I love where it's going, because I tell you what, there is nothing more frustrating than technical challenges like I just experienced on screen right now. I thought that'd be kind of fun to demonstrate. I was going to not do it, but I decided I'm just going to do it anyway. I really wanted to show this QR code, but it was going to pop up over Josh's face like that, right? And so rather than screw up his face, which, you know, and the dirt bike and that whole thing, I wanted to really focus on, okay, let me drop the QR into my screen. And Junaid, this is your territory.
Mhm.
How could I have done that better? Because I just dropped that into my virtual camera screen,
Yeah.
and popped it in. What do you recommend? I mean, how would you have done that? I mean, technology is all around us. It's everything in our business.
Yeah.
If video is a huge part of my business, or I want it to be, what are some tools that you suggest, or what are some ways that you would suggest growing into a technology for that?
Right. So there's several different ways, and there's several different platforms for, like, for example, the live stream that we're doing. Not only are we using software like Ecamm and Restream, but we're also using other software directly into the browser. And having a clear workflow or clear pathway of, this is what run of the show, this is how I'd like to run the show, is really, important. And I like that you asked your guest to show up 15 minutes early, because that way you can kind of get everybody on the same page. Hey, this is how we're going to run the show.
Right.
And then, so having more and more practice always, of course, is going to help you get better at it. But even before we go live, you want to make sure you kind of have an idea. Okay, this is my run of the show. This is the point in the show that I'm going to show up my QR code and talk to people about what this QR code means. So kind of like build
Right.
it into the run of the show. And if you've seen any TV show or movies or commercials, they kind of set the stage. Okay, this is how the show goes. And there's
Right.
so many amazing examples out there, especially late night TV. They have lots of different segments, keeping the audience live, keeping the entire momentum of the show going. I think looking at others' successes is always a great way to then mimic and copy, and like, okay, here's a copy of this template. And that's where this low code solutions come into handy too, right? Because they're giving you a template or a recipe, and then you go in there, take that recipe and add stuff to it or change stuff out. So now you're customizing for your own solution. So the same,
I love it.
same idea applies to when you're running a live show like this.
I love it. And just as a fun technical play, for those that have never scanned a QR on a video, I suggest you try it. I'm going to leave it up there for the rest of the show, but this QR over here, this QR is designed as a lead gen opt-in, which then goes to my CRM. This is a very simple play,
Mhm.
but what's cool about it is you get a downloadable PDF, and I collect a little bit of information from you. It's a fair exchange. The PDF on today is on stage 2 of growing your business, which is this tech stack analysis and also doing a financial analysis of your business. We're not going to talk about the finances today. Don't worry, Josh. I can see you sweating there a little bit. But we are going to talk about the tech. So Josh, here's my question. Janae brought up a good point. Inside of the in all of our tech stack, as we start to he mentioned a lot of subscriptions to different tools and things like that. I think all of us get so tired of subscriptions that we're like, crap, am I still even using that? And how do do you have a methodology when you work with a new client of deciding, hey, let's keep that in play until this point? Or what's a good way to consolidate all of our subscriptions to software?
Yeah, I guess it varies on a case-by-case basis, but it's something that resonates with me. I have to go through on a weekly basis and check all my subscriptions, especially with all the AI tools that I'm subscribed to these days. It's crazy.
No kidding.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of maybe buy versus build again. There are certain times when, like, if you're building out a tool for your company, a lot of times businesses are using maybe 20% of a product that they're paying for because they're just using little bits and pieces, but you have to buy the whole
Yeah.
thing. So sometimes it actually makes sense to just build that portion and add it to your stack. So when you start building your own software, it's kind of fun for some of our clients because they realize that there are opportunities to just build these things out and that they have full control
Yeah.
over it. Obviously, on the flip side is that also comes with maintenance, and it doesn't always make sense to do that financially. So you really have to look at it from a cost benefit perspective. But I think the introduction of like low and no code tools really makes that more approachable because it's so much faster and less expensive to build that stuff. So there's really like no better time to build software for your business.
Right. And you've brought that up a couple times, the low or no code. Help people understand, what is that? What are you talking about? Because a lot of people get confused by that.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. Most people are familiar with website builders. You've got tools like Webflow, Wix, Weebly, Squarespace. So it's kind of like drag and drop editor to build a website, which is really cool. Over the past, I don't know, three years, I'd say there have been a lot of app builders that have come out. So very similar, drag and drop to create an application. It still really helps to have a development background and approach it like the way that you think about software, but it allows developers to build visually, and they can do so, I mean, sometimes 5 to 10 times faster because they don't have to sit there and type every line of code out manually. It's drag and drop and logic based, and you're able to integrate these tools into your existing tech stack. So they're really versatile, and you can build a lot faster with them. So sometimes it's a really good fit.
I love it. Thank you for that. Guillermo, any thoughts on that as well? I mean, you obviously have helped a lot of people with their custom solutions and things like that. How do you feel like people need to evolve into their massive subscription database and kind of get into something a little more custom?
Yes, it depends on different variables, performance, cost, because there are some startups that they start with a very simple product that it's just like what we call an MVP, a minimum viable product, that it has just a barely minimal functionality. But then they start getting a lot of growth, and the product becomes unstable, and you start having a lot of issues because it's not designed to be a scalable product. So that's where you have to think about involving a different set of technology to support your business, right? And it is always important to define the architecture. How are you going to scale it up? If you're moving from this level 2 levels above, is it going to support the volume that you have and the performance? Then also, if you're going to automate more of the processes, how are you going to do the integrations with different providers like payments, like Stripe, or as I said before, DocuSign, or any other providers? That is also important to maintaining the architecture that you can define for the next level of growth. And it's a lot of other issues that are more on the technical side, like the infrastructure. For example, cybersecurity is critical these days, right? You don't want to be running a business and then you have, a downtime because everybody stole your data and you have a massive issue. So those kind of things are critical when you define the architecture for the next level. And it's always important to have a very good team that knows your business process, that knows your technology, what are your goals, and supports you throughout the process. So in summary, you have to be aware of where you are, where you want to be, and the gap in technology. It's critical to handle it by somebody that knows how to do it.
Right. Now, I love what you said there, because it is so easy to just kind of adapt, and sometimes it's not so easy. But I think that Junaid, one of the things I'm curious about to hear from you is, you've played a lot with in the type of space you're in. There's a lot of open source stuff. There's a lot of stuff that has higher value with, you get a lot more value if you're not doing a free trial, you're doing more of a full paid version. A lot of startups get concerned about these things because it's like, how far can I get on HubSpot, right, Guillermo, with a free version of HubSpot before I got to start paying? And what's that going to cost me once I start paying? Junaid, you mentioned GHL and you mentioned a few other products that you've kind of evolved into in your journey. What's helped you make these decisions? I'm curious. Is it cost? Is it ease of use? Is it what's a big decision maker for you as a founder in trying to develop your own lead flow software solutions?
I think one of the biggest reasons why I went with this solution, and yes, I have tried all of the free versions, all of the free plugins to plug into my, um, uh, let's say WordPress, because I've been building on WordPress forever. I was like, hey, I know there are plugins for me to integrate a course, integrate a shopping cart, integrate all these things into my WordPress. But then
Right.
there's so much maintenance that's required that I need a separate person to manage this. And then I want to be able to automate a lot of these things where then I need to learn, ConvertKit or different software, which are really
Right.
amazing software, especially if you're starting out, especially your post-launch. You want to make sure that everything is working. And then as you're developing your leads, you also want to make sure that you're making money, right? Because
Yes.
then you don't have to concern, okay, if I have to pay for this, am I bringing in enough qualified leads to actually sell them the services and the software solutions and whatnot to them, to then say, okay, I can pay for this, I can accelerate and pay, run some ads. So you want to make sure that you're organically building that flow right, so then you can upgrade or level up to the next stage one at a time. Like my studio didn't look like this when I first started. Let me see if I have a photo of what it looked like when I first started. Right.
A
So
lot different, I'm sure.
and let me pull this up. And because I'm using software
While you're pulling that up,
yeah,
one thing. Oh my gosh.
right.
Oh, there you go.
So this is what
Holy crap.
this is the same room, exact same room, right? And I was like, I know I can fix this, having the right gear, right equipment, and let's see, let me put that up. So, right, so all of that
That's
technology,
awesome.
thought process go into it. And when you do that, right, you're looking at how can I upgrade a little bit at a time. And that's what I did. I said, okay, I'm gonna first add lights, then I'm gonna make sure
Right.
that my audio is right. So a little bit at a time. And that's what we're doing with our software solution, our software stack, our tech stack, for our businesses too. Like, okay, this
Yeah.
is working really good. Let's add another layer. And sometimes we don't have all the knowledge. And that's where experts like Josh, Guillermo, yourself, and myself, that's where we are to help other business owners. They've launched it. And the beautiful thing about it is there's new people entering this space every single day.
All the time.
And if you think that there's competition, that is a good thing for us, right? Because that means that there is a need. There's a need for what we have going on here. All right. So who said I got gray?
It just says LinkedIn user. I don't know. It was
Gotta
like
go
the
check
hidden
that.
comment that jumped in.
Yeah.
No, this is very funny. So Josh, one of the things that I think is really critical when we're talking about all this growth and evolving and evolution in our tech, when is the right time? When is the right time to go custom versus, is it only for someone who's raised some money? Is it only for someone who is a certain revenue number? When is the right time to build some custom? Because I think a lot of us get nervous about going custom.
I think the time. So when you go custom, it's not necessarily like you don't have to go all in. You don't have to drop everything in your business to create custom software. You can start by narrowing in on the biggest pain point in the business and just trying it like build out a process that's custom to solve that problem. And if it goes well, then you can start building out the next piece. And you can do it in conjunction with what you already have going on. So I think for many people, there's maybe a misconception that you have to make like a full switch, which is really scary and it's really risky.
Yeah.
Not only is it expensive in terms of capital, it's also expensive in opportunity costs and training costs. And you got to switch everyone over to a new process and there are going to be bugs. So I mean, my suggestion would be if you're running into limitations in the business and you're experiencing, friction, just try building out that one piece, see how it goes, get a sense for what it's like to own your own tech and get a sense of what the possibilities are. And then just narrow in. I mean, it's the 80-20 rule, Pareto's law, like focus on the 20% that's going to give you 80% of the value. So that'd be my recommendation. I don't know if there's like a perfect time to do it, but
I would say just as a starter for a lot of people watching this, the most important thing you can hear or see on a website of a tool that you're planning on using is there an API? Can you pass data to and from that software tool? And B, just on the simplest form, is there a way to use one of the connector tools out there? Because there's a lot of ways to connect different CRMs and different pieces of software together. Are you able to connect through one of those platforms and be able to get your stuff to talk to something else in the future? Right.
Yeah, that's huge. You want to have software that plays nicely with other pieces.
Right. So Guillermo, how do you normally set the table for your clients? Who's the type of avatar that you look for in your business, and what's one of the first things you look for in their tech stack as you start to develop a plan for them?
Yes. So for example, it's important to understand, first of all, what technologies they are using, right? And how reliant or dependent they are with different providers and APIs. And also if they are using services or APIs for their process. So for example, there are some technologies that are more rigid and unflexible than others. So it happens that if they have an old backend or the architecture is not that flexible, every time they change something in the backend, it may require them to do a new version of an app, of a mobile app. And what that happens is that you have to go through the pain of going through the stores, releasing the process. They have to validate your app. So it takes a lot of time that it's outside your control. So if that's something that it's causing you trouble because of your growth and you need to be more flexible, that may be one of the starting points that Josh was mentioning. Maybe that's something painful. And also when you release a new app, you have to be careful that it's backwards compatible, because if one of your users doesn't update the app, then you may be having issues, right? And the service will be affected. So those kind of considerations are important when you start learning about a customer and what their problems are, because there are ways through technology to alleviate that and not expose them to be continuously running a lot of releases in the app stores, and the policies between Android and Apple are different. So you have to go through the pain of each of them to go through. So it is important to do an analysis of what are the main issues that they have and the impact. As Josh was saying, the 80-20 rule is critical, because there are some things that can be easily solved without a lot of investment and will give a lot of return for them in terms of improvements. I don't know if it makes sense what I said.
Totally makes sense. In fact, one thing I'd love to just kind of wrap up with on this call is I want to know, in helping companies, because I think all four of us have probably been involved in helping not only our own companies, but other companies develop a software solution of some sort. Mm-hmm. I can tell you that from my perspective, every time I've helped anybody, it's like is this going to give you an ROI? Like, can you directly correlate this investment into this technology to some type of revenue that's going to come back to you? And to me, that's hugely important. Whether that's a lead management system or like I've got, cool mics set up, and I've got an amazing camera that I'm not even using for this, but I use it for other other videos that will allow a 4K stream. Like there's tools that you use that are worth the investment. My biggest tip is that tech going to give you an ROI? Guillermo, I want to get from each of you your biggest tip and kind of knowing when to invest in that next piece of tech. And it could be the same thing, but I don't know. Guillermo, what are your thoughts on what advice do you give to someone on that next investment?
Well, I would say two things. One is you have to focus on your main issues that are causing the main trouble for you. It could be financially, could be on operations. So you have to focus, and you don't need to solve everything all at once. So as
Ooh, I like that.
you can go progressively and develop a plan to be continuously improving your business. So first thing is focus. And the other one is that you don't have to be using the latest and greatest versions of all the products. Especially on IT, we like to use the new version of A, B, and C software products. And sometimes they need to have some maturity. They will come with bugs, they will have issues. So you have to be very cautious in terms of what are you going through if you do an upgrade, because it may require a lot of additional changes that you don't have a visibility at the moment. So to summarize, focus and understand what's the benefit behind that improving software that you are going to change.
I love it. That's some great advice. Love it. Grenade, and then we'll go Josh.
All right. Like Guillermo said, you want to make sure that all of the things that you're putting in place, there is a return on investment. And it's important to, we put a lot less effort on marketing when we launch our products, because marketing is so time consuming. It is so hard. Bill Nye, the science guy, has a really awesome talk on masterclass.com, and he talks about the upside down design of pyramid of design. And in this pyramid of design, the top, or the upside down part, the small little point that's on the floor is you with your idea. And the top part, and if you go level up, that's 32. So at every stage, there's 4 more people added. You got the idea, you need 4 more people to implement this idea, to make that idea next level. From 4, it goes to 32, because it's 4 times, or 16. So it multiplies by 4x increment.
Right.
The top level is marketing, which means you need to put a lot of marketing effort into making sure that that idea is going to flourish. So as somebody who's already launched your product, now I'm sure you've spent a ton of time researching and interviewing the people that are going to be buying your product. I think that is something that we don't focus on, to understand the problems that people are facing, so that they're actually going to come and buy the software.
That's stage 3. That's stage 3 of the orbit analysis. That's coming next week, buddy.
Right.
Love it.
So
I love it.
All of that coming together, it's really important to make sure you're in alignment with the customers that are going to spend money with your product.
Yeah.
I love it. Josh,
So cool.
Hit us up, man. Wrap us up.
I just agree with everything you guys have talked about so far. It really does just come down to ROI. And I think there are 2 main factors in identifying what the ROI could be. You've got like the tangible costs in your business, the subscription cost. You can look at just the productivity of employees and how they're affected by the software. So you can kind of calculate how much that's hurting you. And if you're going to implement a new solution, you can experiment with like how more effective could these people be, and what would the ongoing cost of that implementation be. So like more than just comparing the cost, obviously custom software is going to cost more, but it should all be about that upside potential. So you want to mitigate downside risk, maximize the upside potential. And once you feel comfortable with the numbers, then it's a no-brainer. And it also lays the foundation for so many other improvements in the business as time goes on. So
totally. I love it. I love what you just talked about, all of you. This has been a great panel discussion. For those of you listening, follow these people. Like really, all three of these people that have been on the stage with me today are very, very qualified in what they do. And I highly recommend you go check them out. I've been putting links below the whole time about how to connect with them, how to follow them. Their LinkedIn profiles are connected to the if you're watching this on LinkedIn, it's connected there. If not, just go look them up on LinkedIn. We have their profiles in the comments. Thank you so much for being here, all of you. This growth and scaling session is sponsored by my company, withmoku.com, and we offer growth and scaling solutions for companies who are beyond that launch phase, who are looking for ways to grow and scale. All three of these people here are running successful businesses. They know and agree with the majority of the things that we've talked about today. They are impacting everyone who's ever launched and scaled a business. Learn more about what we do. Learn more about what all these people are doing on the stage here to grow and scale your company to the next level. And if you haven't done so already, Josh, I believe your episode is coming up this week. Check out the Growth and Scaling podcast. We have 3 interviews a week getting published on our podcast channel, and they are awesome. 20 minutes of goodness with founders talking about their growth and scaling journeys. It is so much fun. I honestly get inspired every time I listen to them. So get on there and take a listen. And we look forward to seeing all of you next week on the Growth and Scaling sessions at the same time, same place on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, I think everywhere. We're trying to broadcast this thing. We look forward to seeing you wherever you're at. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. We'll see you next time.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.